Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Sam, owner of Sam's Bead Shop. I'm so glad you've joined us for class today. I'm going to bring on Rachel. Testing, hopefully. We have a Rachel. Oh, I think you're muted, Rachel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Sam, owner of Sam's Bead Shop.
Sorry.
I'm so glad
That's my
you
fault.
joined us for class today.
That was from my end.
I was like, how did I do that?
Yeah, we managed to produce unexpected magic every week.
We're gonna be fine.
How's everyone doing? Let us know in the comments below. Are you beating along? Are you just going to tune in, learn this new technique with us today, and then try it out later? It's always great. Rachel has some gorgeous earrings that she designed for this class. Why don't we show them? All right, might as well show them.
Yeah. All right. So the earrings we have for this class, I called them I'm trying to get my lighter right. There we go. I had called them the golden arch earrings because I made them with golden obsidian. Can you see that all right?
Yeah, they look beautiful.
So I thought today maybe I would do them with turquoise. They do take a lot of little beads, so use something you've got a good amount of.
Would you say you use about like half a strand or so of the tinies?
I don't remember how many are on a strand. I used, so for these, I think it was like 94 maybe total with both earrings if you do all of the different areas I have them wrapped in. So I have it wrapped here and up here, but also these are really small. These are like 2 millimeters. These look like they're about the same size, but if you use like the 3 millimeter ones, obviously you're going to need less.
Yeah, and if you want to try this design and you don't have any tiny gem beads right now, you could probably use like an 8-0 seed bead, maybe a 10-0. And I think that would also work great in this design.
Like my camera is like washing out my bead mat. All right. Well, are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let me just look at the questions really quick, and then we'll keep focused on this amazing technique. Lori's asking how to get the comments to show on the side instead of the bottom. I have this issue also, Lori. What I tend to do is if you go directly to the Sam's Bead Shop Facebook page and go to the live stream that way and click the expand button, I find then I get to see the comments on the left-hand side. Sometimes from clicking from other places, it shows me with the comments below, which I also don't like as much. Welcome, Shira, Julie, Angela, Kathy. Too many people to say hello to, so hello to everyone.
Welcome.
So glad you're with us. I'm going to let Rachel take it away.
All righty. So we're going to start with some 18 gauge wire. I'm using sterling silver, but you can use whatever you want. My sterling silver is oxidized. I do it myself. And you're going to need, to get this size of the arches, you're going to need 3 inches, 2 3-inch pieces of wire. I actually did measure it this time. So these earrings from top to bottom are about 3 inches actually total. But the arch itself, to make it, we're going to use 3 inches of wire. So, and then I just put my ruler away, because I'm not going to need it right now, but let's get a little bit more of my mat in the view. Okay. So, just cut my pieces.
Rachel's using 2 types of wire today. She's using 18 gauge for the arches, and then she's using 28, but also 26 could work for the wrapping of the tiny beads.
Yes. If you're using a little bit bigger of a bead, I think that 26 would be good. I mean, 26 would be good either way, but 28 is my preferred. You know what's funny is this piece of wire I just cut is not 18 gauge. This is 18 gauge. You know, I clean up my table really fast and I'm like, this feels like it, and I'll put it in the thing and then I'll go to work with it later and I'm like, you know, this feels funny.
Yeah, this doesn't feel quite right.
That's fine. We'll cut it off. And I'm just going to even up the edges a little bit. So next we're going to grab our round nose pliers, or you can use bail making pliers. I usually have a little scrap jar, but it's disappeared. So I'm actually gonna use these bail making pliers. I bought these late in the game. I bought these like a couple months ago after 17 years. And so I've been trying to come up with ways to use them because at this point I'm so proficient with my round nose pliers that I don't really need these. But so we're gonna grab
handy though.
Yeah, it's been good. I've actually been using them for ear wires. But we're gonna grab the wire about in the middle and then we're gonna fold it up. And we're just making that loop you see at the top of the earring. And I'm gonna go ahead and fold it all the way down. So it's like this, just so you have a tight loop. And then the earrings I actually shaped by hand. If you wanted to shape them around a bottle, you could, but I just kind of took my finger and bent them into an art shape.
Oh, that's nice.
It's not too hard of a shape to do. And then sometimes I like to make my earrings like one at a time. For this, I would make your arches first just so you can make sure you line them up. So you can either measure where the middle of the wire is, or you can guess. I'm gonna measure so everyone believes that I measure all the time. But I don't. I don't ever measure. I hang things on the wall and I'm just like, the nail should go here.
Oh, never.
I'm like, maybe there's a stud. The stud's too far away. The nail's going here. I'm very much of a make it work person. All right, let's see. Let's see how even we are. And then when I hammer these out, they're going to be a little bit less even, which I like, but they're still kind of on the same page. Let's see. Where are we at? If you start in the same spot, though, they'll end up about the same. Tiny bit wider. And like I said, if you want to use like a bottle or something, you could use the end of your hammer. I use this sometimes, my bigger hammer when I'm making hoop earrings. But anyway, that's the beginning of the earring. So easy. And we're going to hammer this whole thing flat. You've been in a class with me, you know, I love my hammer. I have about 6 of them. People joke, they're like, what do you want for your birthday? Another hammer? Maybe. What's it to you? I could be asking you for something expensive that I want to hammer. So I'm just going to hammer it flat. If you do not have a hole punch, you kind of want to avoid doing the ends too much because you're going to need to make a loop there so that you can connect your brios. But if you do have a hole punch, you're just going to want to make sure that your ends are hammered wide enough to make the hole. My hole punch is 1.25 millimeters. I'm trying to get Sam to get these, but you can also get them at any place that sells jewelry making supplies. You could also use a drill if you really, really wanted to. So I'm just going to go slow. A little bit at a time. This actually is not even a jewelry hammer. I got this from like art school. Somebody was just getting rid of a hammer. And it is like one of my favorite things ever. It's all scratched up. It has the coolest texture. I love using it. But I also use jewelry hammers a lot too. Okay, and I'm even gonna hammer the hoop out. Hammer it pretty flat. You don't want to go too far with that. And I'm doing the hoop last after I've kind of got the shape for the most part on the other sides, because if that were to shift after you've already hammered it down like that, the wire is likely to break. Shara says there's only 481 more likes until Sam's Bead Shop reaches 10,000 likes. So when that happens, Sam is going to take me to Hawaii.
I think the VIP group's going to reach a milestone soon. We hit 6,000 members near the beginning of quarantine. I think we're actually about to hit 7,000, which is insane.
That is awesome. So you'll see I kind of made the ends a little bit wider. I think I am going to go and flatten this a little bit more. It kind of depends on how big your beads are too, because the way I designed this is I liked it so that the beads were pretty much exactly the same width as I hammered the metal. But if my beads were a little bigger, I'd want to do it bigger. I think it gave them like a nice place to sit. That hammering's not too loud, right? Not that I can really make it quieter, but
on my end it's fine. So I don't get blowing out anyone's ears.
Oh, we have somebody new today. I mean, I'm sure we have more new people. It looks like it says Penny is new. This is just on my little screen that I have. And also, Angie says she's new from Georgia. What part of Georgia are you from, Angie? I grew up in Marietta. All right.
Amelia Kelly commented outside of the stream, but she said, I wanted to see it. She said, good, you can come visit me in Hawaii.
In Hawaii. That's great. You have a lot of people in your group from Hawaii. I'm like stunned. I've never really, well, I did have a friend in college who was from Hawaii, actually. Her name was Bead, and she was awesome.
Maybe we'll just have to host our eventual beading summit.
Yeah, at Amelia's house. I'll pay for the flight for me. So I just went ahead and started on hammering the next one.
Welcome, Connie. For those just joining, Rachel is making her golden arch earrings, which are stunning. In a second, maybe they're awesome. So the one there. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if they seem like they're getting kind of like misshapen, flip it over and hammer a little bit on the other side.
Totally. So in the pair she has there, she used golden obsidian and what citrine you have with it?
It's smoky lemon quartz, actually.
Oh, beautiful.
And then, yeah.
And then today, let's see, turquoise and today smoky quartz.
Yes. Both from you.
What those smoky quartz must be from a while back, or are those the more recent ones?
These are the more recent ones. They're the small ones.
Oh yeah, if anyone
have the small and the large. I love smoky quartz so much, so I thought those would be pretty with the turquoise. We'll see. Sometimes after class, I'm like, I'm gonna switch this part out. But it's vibing with me right now, so we're gonna go with it.
Yeah, I was really impressed with the faceting on that smoky quartz, and actually, there's still some more of that batch on the site. If you search smoky quartz, you'll find it, I think.
So once I've got it all hammered out, I'm just gonna go ahead and punch my holes in the end. It's just gonna make it a lot easier when you go to wrap later to know which part you're gonna avoid. If you try to punch holes after you've already got your beads on there, then you run the risk of crushing them while you're punching the hole. And if you are not punching holes and you're going to make a loop on the end, I would do that now as well. And then a little thing I do after I punch holes is you can take whatever hammer. I like to use this one because I feel like the round end does something to it. And I just kind of tap on the opposite side just to kind of smooth out the raised metal from punching the hole. And the goal when I hammer the bottoms out like this is to make them slightly rounded and not super sharp.
Do you ever?
Not that this part's gonna. What's up?
Do you ever have to?
What? Do I ever have to file them? Sometimes when I'm using like a smaller gauge wire, I do. Usually with the large gauge like this, I'm able to draw it out a little bit more. But you could go in and file it. You could hit it up with some sandpaper. I actually find hammering it with a flat hammer actually rounds out the ends nicer than if I use this. Strangely. I'm sure there's science behind that. If you know what it is, let me know. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna hole punch these. And then we're gonna start our wire wrapping. So this is it's a pretty simple design. It looks pretty complicated, but it's pretty simple. There's just a lot of wrapping. So I think we're probably just gonna end up working on one of them, and then I'll finish the other one later. Oh, I forgot to get my jump rings out too. So you're also going to need jump rings. That's how I have the brio attached here, and that's how I have this part attached up here. So let's move over from 18 gauge, which we were just using, and we're going to move to our 28 or 26 gauge. And we're going to do this in 3 parts. We're going to wrap down this way, then we're going to wrap down this way, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter which side you start with. And then we're going to wrap around here. So it's going to be 3 separate pieces of wire. You just want to make sure that you have enough wire to where you're not going to have to run out and connect another piece of wire onto there. I feel like because I only do 1 wrap in between each bead, which you'll see, it is going to be easier to not have to connect another piece of wire. So I'd say probably like 8 to 10 inches should be enough, hopefully. I usually start with way too much, which I prefer. Yeah. Monica, I have it hammered like so flat that it goes through really easily, but this is also made for metal. And I think it'll punch up to 20 gauge, and we've hammered this to probably about, honestly, like 30 gauge. It's pretty flat right here. So when I start off wrapping this, if you've been in a class with me before, like on the wrapped hoops, I always leave a little tail so it's easier for me to get a grip. And then I cut it off later. I think it makes it easier to just anchor your beads. So I'm gonna put it here, and then I'm gonna wrap around like 2 times. So I've got 2 little loops. And if you put too many wraps here, you can always take them out later. But I'm gonna make sure I push it up real far against the loop. You see that? Can you see it okay?
Yeah, it looks good.
So there's my wrap. And it doesn't want to be up against the loop, but you have to make sure that you tell it that it has to be up against the loop. And then I'm gonna just thread on my beads. Some people have different systems for this, where they like to thread all their beads on at once and then slowly let one go. I make a huge mess when I try that. So I'm gonna do it one at a time. So you've got your bead on there. You're going to want to anchor it with your finger. Eventually, they'll kind of fall into place. And then I go once under, and then I'm going to do a full wrap again.
Would you show us a little closer?
Yeah, I'll do the next one. Put on my bead. Okay. So I've got my bead on there. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Lori wants to know why I didn't use one piece all the way around. It's because I did not want there to be wire right here because I knew it was already going to be hard to get the jump ring through there. And also, it's just easier to not have as much wire to work with, honestly. You probably could. I liked doing it in 3 pieces. I think it makes it a little bit more approachable.
Yeah.
But whatever works for you. I mean, there's no right or wrong way. It's art. Just as long as it's not going to come undone. That's all we care about. So I've got my bead on there. I didn't really talk through the last wrap, but I'm going to do, so I've got it on top. And I just kind of, if you don't hold it, sometimes it tries to travel with the wire. I'm not used to holding my hands this far up. So I've got my wire going underneath. And see, it's all I've done is come around the wire. And then I'm going to come back over and just do one wrap to where I'm just at the same position I just was. And then I'm going to keep wrapping on my beads. So we're going to be doing this for a while.
I think it's going to be one of those very relaxing things to watch.
Oh, no. If you want to keep it on me just doing this, or if you want to have our faces up.
Oh, sure.
It's going to be a minute.
Okay, let's see what I can
I feel
do.
kind of like I'm knitting a little bit. I don't know why.
Here,
When I
now,
wrap it.
here's a view that works. We can still see what you're doing. We can still follow along. This is good.
Ooh, I just sent beads everywhere. I tell everyone, I'm always like, don't leave your beads right where your wire is going to go. And then I always do it for the class. And I send beads everywhere. I don't even know how many of these beads I've lost. Probably a zillion. Sam, are you getting more tinies in? Because I'm not going to lie, part of the reason I picked the turquoise is because I couldn't bear to part with any of my other ones.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a restock. I think in February of some of those original tinies.
Okay.
I've been getting more of the. I got a lot of those like 3mm size in that I still have more to post of. Like
okay.
the pyrite last week, and there was one other. No, don't worry. I'll get more because some of those original ones were I really liked also.
Yeah, I think I almost use like those sapphires are so pretty. The apatite are really pretty. You know, I love my rubies.
Oh, I know. I think I can get more of the 2mm, so I'm gonna get more of those.
Shira stole them from me. I'm just kidding. Shira's joking about turning off Michelle's computer. I'm gonna turn off Shira's.
I remember you did that ruby design, and then
I know. I was like, everybody
I had no more.
Because otherwise I'm gonna buy all of them, and I really would have, honestly, Sam. I would have just added them to every order.
I mean, if you're only getting like a half strand each order, it's as if they're like very normally affordable. It's as if you're not purchasing a precious stone. Shira says, "Mwahaha." He will not let you be shutting off her computer for tomorrow's sale.
I am, and I'm going to be home for tomorrow's sale, which is exciting for me. I usually work Sundays, and they have closed my work in anticipation of possible civil unrest in Times Square. So I thought that was actually really nice that they thought about that. because it's already a little bit hard to manage
Times
the
Square.
inhabitants of Times Square on a normal day. So all right, we're almost done with one side. It goes a lot faster than you would think, especially when you know what you're going to do with the design. Every time I use things with turquoise, or every time I use turquoise and things, I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to give these to my sister. And I'm like, she only has so many birthdays. It's one. She has one birthday. And then the other sister is like, don't give me anything that's not on my Amazon list. If you do, I'll be mad. And my brother bought her a pair of socks, and we're not actually sure whose Amazon list it's from. Actually, it wasn't from any of ours, so we're not really sure where he got the. I think he got it from suggested items. And she was like furious. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? They're socks. She's funny. But all of my packages have finally been delivered.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that the post office is catching up finally.
Yeah, I was totally right though. They were just dumping new packages on top of the old ones.
No, 100%. They were just like pushing all of the ones they had farther back because people were still getting the more recent ones.
Yeah, what do I do? Laura, do you mean what do I do for a job or? Well, yeah, I don't know what other. I'm a supervisor at. Before the pandemic, we were the third busiest Starbucks in the United States, but now we're probably like the third slowest Starbucks in the United States. It's been pretty slow. Hang on just a second. When we get to the end, you can kind of determine if you think you can fit another bead on or not. I don't think I'm going to try to cram one on this because I also wanted to get, actually, you know what? Live and let live. I'm going to see if I can move them all up a little bit. So sometimes you can kind of push them in. I already have them pushed in pretty well. I'm very good about that. As you're going, just keeping the tension tight and keeping the beads together will also keep everything in the right place. And if you have like arthritis or anything, you can definitely wind the wire with a pair of pliers. But anyway, so yes, I'm a supervisor at formerly a busy Starbucks.
And Rachel also owns Mally Jewelry.
Yes, I do.
MallyJewelry.com, correct?
Yes.
Where you can find her lovely pieces there.
I have been eating wire working since I was about 10 years old, so like 17 years. So I've definitely come a long way. When I get to the end, I am going to go ahead and grab my pliers because I want that to be really tight because we're going to just cut the wire off on the back. And you can put a dab of like jeweler's glue there if you want, if you feel like it's not secure. But you just want it to be pretty tight. And then we're just going to cut it, and I'm going to come back in and push it down with my pliers after.
Julie says your website is beautiful, Rachel.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I am not a computery person, and it took me a very, very long time to set that website up. I kept going to my boyfriend, can you help me with this? And he'd be like, sure. And then I tell him what I want, and he'd be like, it'd be easier if you did that. And I'm like, you should have just said no then, if you don't want to help. So I did it all myself.
I think you did a fabulous job.
Thank you. Okay, so I've got one side, and I'm going to do the other side.
Are there other steps we could show now, like that wouldn't get in your way, like adding on the brio?
I can show you how to wrap a brio. At this point, I don't think I want to put the brio on here because it's just going to like dangle around and get in my way while I'm wrapping the other side. Okay,
no, I'll let you keep going then. We're actually doing really well on time today.
Yeah. One of the reasons also, Lori, that I did it in 3 is that it's easier to gauge how much wire I'm going to need if I'm doing it in sections. I don't like running out of wire. It drives me insane. Yeah, so I think I used, let me actually measure this. So this is about, this is how many I used last time. This is like 10 inches of wire. And I had this much left over. I always like to have a lot to work with. So we're going to start at the same again. Oh, and I don't know if you saw me, but I did cut off my little tail. I just cut it off on the back and then pushed it down. And I'm going to just do the same thing on the other side. For me, this side is easier to start upside down. Just because of the beads being there now and me being right-handed and it being on the left. So I'm actually coming around in the opposite direction, but you can't really tell when you look at the earring. It actually just looks like both sides of these beads are facing each other. So whatever direction you want to wrap in, it works either way. I love tiny beads.
They're also,
I do not have.
they're also handmade, so whatever direction you want your beads to face, or if you don't even care at all, that's also fine because they're going to be beautiful wrapped on anyway.
Sometimes I get like really caught up in it, and it just, when it all comes down to it, unless you're going into a jury to show, nobody's going to be examining it with a loop. And if it bothers me, I'll just redo it. So another thing I like about wire work, I feel like it's fairly forgiving. I solder occasionally, and I would never teach that. It would be totally not safe for work. And Sam knows I'm not really that great with like safety.
Oh yeah, I remember you mentioned you wanted to tell people to put their wire.
No, I did not say I wanted to tell people. Just, I mean, maybe I wanted to, but not encourage it. So I'm not saying that this works, but if you ever wanted to make ball head pins and you have a gas stove,
this is not endorsed by Sam.
Silver. But that being said, I didn't say that, and I'm not held liable for if you try to do that, but it does work. That's how I did everything before I had a torch. I had bought one of those little creme brulee torches, and I don't know what I did to the thing. It kept blowing out, like, so I just went over the stove, and I was like, I mean, obviously you don't hold it with your hand. Use some tweezers. But I'm full of lots of fun, helpful tips like that. Like if your air vent keeps falling from the ceiling and you try the little toothpick thing in the holes and that doesn't work, you put some duct tape and thumbtacks up there, you're golden.
I don't even know what you're talking about at this point.
Just like my life hacks, Sam. I'm not like a super patient person. So I just kind of fix things in a way to where they're just like mostly fixed. In my old house, the baseboard kept falling off under the sink, and that was because it had like sunk a little bit. And I knew if they were going to send anyone out to fix it, it was going to take forever. So I just kind of like screwed it back in, and then I just painted over it with a little bit of acrylic paint, and you couldn't even tell. They look great. You know, tune in next time on House Flippers with Rachel. Everything's held together by Gorilla Glue. I think that would be so fun, actually, flipping houses. I say that. I don't like to be sweaty, so maybe not.
Seems like a lot of work, especially that house needs work.
I feel like it looks fun. Lori says, hypothetically, if we were to string all the beads on first while having it on the spool, you could do the whole thing with one piece of wire without cutting it. You could. I couldn't. That would drive me crazy. But if you are someone dexterous enough to do that, I don't know if I said that word right, but you could absolutely do that. Now, I will say that the top part that we're going to wrap, personally, I would still wrap that separately because I think if you wrap that in between, it might be a little hard for you to get your beads all the way up against the edge, like I have them right here. And you'll see what I mean because we're going to do that in a second. Almost done.
Welcome, Bernice.
Welcome. Anybody have any plans for the holiday weekend? Like at-home plans? Sometimes I wish I had a fireplace. That'd be so fun.
This is what occurred to you just now.
What?
I mean,
What'd
you
you say?
are. I mean, I get it because you are in Brooklyn winter right now, so I understand.
It's not actually that cold out. It's just cold inside when I'm not doing anything. But it's like in the, oh, well, I just sent that bead across the room. It's like in the 40s. It's supposed to drop down a little bit again this week.
So what
I love the cold.
what I want to know is if Shira Dawson is watching. I want to know if she is following the design this week or totally freewheeling it like the last couple of weeks.
I love it when people freewheel it. What is the proper way of that term?
Oh no, blind leading the blind.
I love it because it's so fun seeing like me inspire someone with a technique and then they totally make it their own. Who posted? Was it Angela that posted that amazing design that she had done with like all the things she learned from the classes?
That was Amelia.
Amelia, I get the A's mixed up. That was amazing.
Yeah, I showed my mom that piece. She thought it was stunning. I love that one. Welcome, Lynn. Glad you're joining us today. Rachel's almost done with
I did finish it.
The wrapping of this earring. She's making the ones you can kind of see at the top of the screen there.
Okay, so now we're going to wrap the middle part, which is a little bit trickier, and I do actually encourage you using your pliers for this. You don't need as much wire. I'm still going to cut about the same amount because, as you've heard me say, I don't like to run out of wire. I like to have enough to grip onto. I think it's also because I mostly use my hands. So I'm still going to give myself a little bit of a tail. Oh, Amelia's here.
Amelia is here.
So she knows that we love her design still. I think about it. It's great. Okay. So it's a little bit trickier because you're going through the loop on this one. So I'm still going to start out with two little wraps. And I've still got my little tail here. Can you blow up Shira's comment?
Yeah.
Amelia, were you here for us deciding that?
She might not have been.
We all decided that we're going to have a bead summit at your house in Hawaii. So start preparing. Hang on, my wraps. I seem to have lost one of them in the mix. All right, we're going to take the bead off. Come back. And also like start out in the middle and then this is the trickiest part of this earring. Oh, my wrap is still there. I don't know what happened. Okay. Hold this tight.
Yeah, I found with all these wrapping projects you've let us in that it's getting those first wraps and the first bead on is always the trickiest part.
Especially when you're working with such a small space like this loop. When I was designing these, I was just looking at it and I was like, you know, I really feel like I need to do the loop.
And of course, if you're making this, you can. You don't actually. You could leave if you like the exposed metal there. You could leave that loop.
Oh, absolutely.
It actually
So
could be
on
quicker that way.
on the loop, I bead on the outside of it. So we beaded on top of that part of this, and for the loop, we're gonna bead on the outside. Lori's question is, do I put all my scraps in something to melt down later? And yes, I do. I usually have like a little scrap thingy on my bead mat, but I cleaned, so it's probably in a drawer. But I have like a little drawer I use. Sometimes I go through there and I just pull the scraps out and use them. I also have one for like base metal and copper, which I have no idea what I'm going to do with because they don't really take copper for meltdown. I wonder if you can like bring it somewhere. So this one's a little bit more finicky. Just getting it to stay is the trick. You can't hear that car alarm, can you?
No.
Good.
You're good.
It's driving me crazy, but as long as you can't hear it. But okay, there we go. I've got one. So yeah, you're just gonna kind of thread them on. You want to hold them in place as you bend your wires and then as you're pulling it through because they tend to want to follow the wire.
Are you able to show us close up for maybe one of these wraps?
Yeah, I'm sorry. My finger's on top of it for half of it, but we will. So I might trim my tail a little bit when I go back, but here is what I've got so far. I'm gonna thread on another bead. So I've got it on. I'm gonna put my wire through the loop, and then just wanna make sure it goes in the right spot. So just kind of, if this happens like this, you just pull the bead over back. Don't pull your wire tight until you're sure that the bead is where you want it to be.
I just did a quick search in case people were curious of which tiny beads we have currently. I searched itty for itty bitty on the site because that's what I call a lot of these.
That. Yeah.
And I see that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then I just add them onto my orders.
So currently we have peridot, golden obsidian, which is what Rachel used in the example design.
So pretty. I ordered another strand last week, even though I still have a lot.
Amazing. There's light apatite, which is almost like an aquamarine color.
I have that somewhere around here. I think I have all of these I can show you. Actually, the peridot is new. I don't have that yet. It's on its way.
Let's see. Tourmalinated quartz is one of my personal favorites. I just think that stone is beautiful. And then we have some watermelon tourmaline. So there's lots of options already in stock right now.
The black and white tourmalinated quartz, right? Or the black. Yeah. I have that too. I could have showed all of these if you prepped me. I've got them all in this box right next to me.
Rachel has special containers for her tiny beads.
I do. I got I pulled them up on Amazon and I showed my boyfriend and I was like, you know how you said you wanted to get me more for Christmas? These could be here in 2 days. So I got these tiny boxes. I think they're for honestly, I think they're for like nail crystals, but they work for beads too.
Amelia said, do you see this comment? I just pulled it up.
This part looks like it will cause me to use colorful language. That's why I make all the designs first, and then we do them. I honestly am so impressed with myself on these classes because, I mean, I live in New York, but I feel like I'm very...
Oh, you're talking about your language. I didn't know where you're going with that. Yeah. Shara was commenting on those 1 by 2 millimeter saucers. I remember when I ordered those, I was like, it's probably 2 by 3. I bet the suppliers just put that in by mistake. And then I got them, and they're 100% 1 by 2 millimeter. They're the tiniest little saucers I've ever seen, but they're so adorable. Cute.
I will buy them for cuteness factor alone. I mean, I have them, and they're very cute. They're very tiny. I haven't figured out what I'm going to use them on yet. Probably something like this that'll drive me crazy, you know? But they're so small that I don't want to, like... This would be really pretty on, like, a pair of strung hoops or something. I remember when you were doing the class 2 days ago with Soft Flex, they had a lot of earrings that they just strung and crimped. And I feel like those tiny tourmaline saucers would be great for that.
Wait, actually, what a good reminder. I wanted to tell you all about the SoftX class that happened a couple days ago. I joined their live stream. We did a little beading party. And I'm going to grab the link now because I had sent them some of my beads so that they could try it out using their various wires because they have so many amazing colors of wire. Let's see if I can grab the video. Here we go. And so they used, I think I sent them two different palettes. One was like yellow and mookaite. The other one was using hematite and the dyed blue tiger eye from the last release. And it was so cool to see their beading techniques.
Sometimes I forget that you are also talking to me, so I'm just like waiting for somebody else to respond. And I'm like, oh, it's just me. Shara said she needs purple soft flex.
Shara, I'm shocked you don't already have purple soft flex. All right, now more requests for colors. I've been debating if I wanted to stock their colored ones. Currently, on the site you'll find the most standard satin silver in various sizes. The fine being the go-to one.
I think that you need to stock that crimper tool.
Yeah, that magic crimper is amazing. I started. Yeah, I definitely. I'm gonna get that one. That thing looked easy. Although I also just really find a standard crimping ply very satisfying. But I do see the advantage.
I mean, both. I know for a fact that both Lori and I want that. So you've already sold 2.
Fair point.
If that makes it better. Okay. So I don't know if you saw this last bit. So I was using my pliers to string through on here on the last little bit. And then after that, I'm just going to go ahead and kind of push into them and spread them out a little bit. Just make sure they all have their own little space.
Let's see, you're freezing a little bit, but I think we heard you though. So you're saying you were pushing the beads in?
No, I was just kind of moving them around just so that they're pretty equally distributed. And this part is tricky, is getting your wire to be pushed down on the back. And my little tail. I'm gonna cut that too. There's lots of different ways to go about wire work. This is just the way I like to go about it. You'll see some in the comments if you're not super familiar with wire work. There's not really a right and a wrong way, I feel like. I mean, sometimes people will tell you there's a right and a wrong way, but I feel like whatever way gets you to your destination that you're going for, it doesn't matter what way you do it. So at this point, we are going to move on to our brios. So we'll roll up my sleeves and grab them. This one's so cute. Get my little brios. And I'm just going to go back in with the 28 wire. It's a 28 gauge wire again. And I find that I usually use around 4 inches for a brio. I like to do most of my brio wrapping as kind of messy wrap. You can do them very neatly. There's a few different ways. I'll show you the way I like to do them. So I'm threading my wire through the hole. If you are not familiar with wrapping briolette, you should always use a wire that is definitely smaller than the hole. So if you're trying to get like 24 gauge in there and it just fits, you need to go to 26, because especially with the stone ones, they're delicate. You know, stones are delicate. They break a lot easier than glass. Definitely a lot easier than acrylic or whatever. So you don't want to put too much stress on it, because you're bending the wires up. If this was 24 gauge, it would put so much stress on that. So this is 28 gauge. 26 would work in this too. So I fold my wires up, and then at the top of the brio, I just kind of pinch them together with my nails. I think that gives it kind of a nice shape. And then I have one wire that's much shorter than the other, and I'm just gonna wrap it around a little bit. Just give it like a single little wrap. There's another way you can do this where you like weave them together and then you cut the wire off through the loop, and you can definitely find that way on YouTube. This way I like a little better because I feel like I have less chance of cutting things off, and I like how it looks. So this is going to be my one that's going through the center, because we're going to be hanging on a jump ring. I think I want my loop to go to where I consider this like the front of the bead. So I'm going to make my loop go this way, if that makes sense. So that when the jump ring comes through, the jump ring is going to be going like this. Once you wrap your loops too, you'll find with wire, it's kind of easy to just move them too if you put them the wrong way. So I'm at my wire 90-degree angle. I use my teeny tiny pliers, and I give myself probably about maybe 1/8 to 1/16 of an inch room, just to have some room to wrap the wire. And then I'm going to put my pliers on the top part of the 90-degree angle I made, and I'm going to pull the wire back over them. So I went like that towards me and just make a little loop. There's my little loop. And then I'm going to come back in with a pair of, these are, what do we call these? Flat
nose, chain nose.
I think the chain nose are the skinnier ones. I never know. I should learn the terms, and I know them until we go live. And then I'm just going to start wrapping. So you just kind of make your way down. You can build on it if you want to. You can make it really messy if you want to. You can make it really neat if you want to.
Wow, the cut on that smoky quartz is even nicer than I remember. Like, that faceting is gorgeous.
It's so pretty. And then I like to come back up to the top with my wire and just wrap it a little up there, just to kind of anchor it. What were you saying, Sam? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. I just want to say I put a link to those smoky quartz brios in the comments, because I still have the slightly larger size in stock, and they're on sale right now.
Ooh. The slightly larger size is like basically the same size.
Yeah, I have to differentiate them because like they are different sizes, but they're very similar, usually within a couple millimeters.
Lynn says these are called square nose or box nose. I should write that on them. Sorry, I got dehydrated. All right, so there's this wrap. I'm like, man, why am I so thirsty? Oh, I've only been talking for almost an hour. I'm like dying. Okay, so that's the one that's going to go in the middle. I'm actually not going to attach that right now. I'm going to move it to the side, and I'm going to start on the ones that are going to go on the bottom.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to do that again. We're going to do our brio wrap. So I've got my wire through. I've got a small tail. I'm going to pinch it. And then I'm going to wrap a little bit. You want the wrap to be like kind of at the point. You can also use this opportunity to wrap down a little bit and kind of anchor your brio in place. I know sometimes people have problems with them moving around. So see, it's not going to go anywhere. It's the under layer.
I never thought about using the initial wrapping to anchor the brio itself. That's smart.
Thank you. All right. So on this one, we are not going to be putting a jump ring through it. So I'm going to go ahead and make my loop go this way. Like this. And we're also going to be threading it onto the earring directly. You could put a jump ring here if you wanted. Of course, if you looped the ends instead of hammering them and putting a hole in them, you could just wrap it like we did the last one and just open your loop and close it into it. But for this, I am wrapping mine directly on there. So I made my loop and then I just threaded on the earring. I'm going to come in. I like to use my round nose pliers when I do this because they're skinnier than the other ones. Here's some super skinny pliers that will work too. Okay. Perfect. Yep. And if you find yourself breaking brios, I just want you to know that it happens to everyone. I have a little jar full of broken stone beads, most of them being brios. And you know, it just happens.
Oh my God, I was muted. I was said you feel.
I was like, wow, Sam has nothing to say about this. All right.
I was also working on a cookie. You just fill that jar with your brio
and your tears. And my what?
And your tears.
And my tears. Actually, you know what? It has. I have it right here. It has brios. You can see moonstones, sunstones, some really gorgeous moonstones. I'm actually kind of mad when I look in here. And then whiskers. My cats have gifted me whiskers. I've been informed that it's weird to have them in a jar, but whatever. That's where they are. It's not like I'm wearing it yet. One day, maybe. But anyway. So, you're new to wrapping brios. Definitely test it on ones that you don't like as much because I'm still a little salty about those moonstones. This one does not want to be anchored. It's trying to run away. All right. Well, we're just going to anchor it when we wrap down, I think. There we go. You got it? Got it. Perfect. Okay. And again, I'm going to do my loop so that it goes this way. What did we call that last time? Perpendicular? I need to go back to math.
I'm not having the geometry debate again.
I need to go back. I need to learn the terms. Shira will know. So
I think
didn't
she say adjacent last time?
No, adjacent was for something else.
Oh, great.
It was adjacent was instead of parallel because it wasn't parallel. It was adjacent because it was on the same plane. But that wasn't what I was talking about. I think mine was perpendicular. Okay, here we go.
Welcome, Marcia and Giannette. Glad you're joining us today.
Welcome. I'm excited to have you. Okay, perfect. So at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and attach my third one. I think the smoky quartz works. What do you think?
I think they're really cool because I mean, there are natural gray like veins in turquoise that you're kind of pulling that color out.
Mm-hmm. So these jump rings I'm going to use are 4mm 22 gauge jump rings. And I have them all attached together, so it's not going to be easy to just pull one out. And you just want to make sure it has enough room to move with the beads that you've wrapped on there. I'm sure you could also wrap your brio on, but I wanted them to have a little bit more movement. So this part is a little finicky. I'm gonna put the, am I in the camera? Oh, for once. So I've got that on there. I'm gonna flip my brio on here. And then I'm gonna grab it. And I'm gonna close the jump ring. So the rest of the earring, I have if you're gonna do wrapping on the ear wire, which I can show if you think we have time, Sam. If you're gonna do that wrapping on the ear wire, I would do that first and then do this bead because I could have wrapped the ear wire closed, just to anchor it, and then you would wrap this connecting bead in between. You could also wrap this connecting bead directly to the earring. You can see here I have it on a jump ring, but I thought the jump ring gave it a little bit more movement without me having to create a absolutely ginormous loop with my wire.
Right.
So I opted for the jump ring.
Yeah, if you're willing to show it all, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I can do that. Let me grab an ear wire. It's pretty quick. We're just gonna do it on one. I actually did not decide what connecting beads I wanted in between. I don't have any bigger turquoise like that. But I think I'm gonna use the, what was that? I have, sorry for the pause. Yeah, I think I'm gonna use these larger Amazonites I got from you that are very beautiful. They're pumpkin cut, and I'm gonna use that as my connecting bead. I think I might go back and change it later. No, I think it goes. What do you think?
Oh, is that the pumpkin cut?
Yeah, it's the Peruvian Amazonite pumpkin cut.
Oh, pretty.
So I'm gonna get one of my ear wires. These ear wires I make myself. Possibly Sam can post the link to the YouTube video in the comments. We're gonna refilm it soonish, so that it'll be a little bit easier to see. But I show you how I make these ear wires, and it must be good enough because I've seen so many beautiful versions of them. So they're really easy to make. All right. So I'm going to go back in with my 28 gauge. 26 also works for the ear wires. I've used it before. So I like to start mine as kind of an anchor. I like to go through the hole, hold it down, and then wrap around the, I'm having trouble holding it so that I can show you on the camera. All right. Again, go through the hole, hold it, and then I'm going to come around and wrap just to anchor it. Boy, I never have this much trouble when no one's watching. Okay, there we go. Anchor it a little bit there, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to anchor it through the loop.
I posted the link to the ear wire tutorial where Rachel shows how to make this basically this exact pair that she's using now. And then don't forget to subscribe to Sam's Bead Shop on YouTube while you're there, because that's where we archive all the past classes. Currently, there's about 15 or 16 classes posted there, and I'm going to get some of our more recent ones up once I have a breathing moment.
Okay, so I've got my wire hooked on. Yeah, I just like to anchor it as much as I can. And how many did I put on the other one? You can kind of put however many beads you want on here, but I would stop probably about here if you're going to do a bunch, because otherwise it's going to fall out of the person's ear. I don't generally do more than 4, and I think we might just do 3 for this. So we're going to wrap it basically the same way we did the loop. We're going to wrap it on the edge. So I've got it on my wire. I want it slid all the way up. And then it's just a little bit trickier with the ear wires. This is why I like to wrap them on first before I connect the ear wires to anything, because it's just really hard once the earring's on there. So wrap it around and then give it another loop. Get another one.
Susan commented, I find that when I do my beading, many tend to escape to the floor, and it's frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
I definitely recommend a beading mat for starters, which is what Rachel's using.
It's like, yeah, and not all beading mats are the same. I just want to throw that out there, because I got these like other beading mats and they're like shiny and they have no grip. My beads just roll right off them. This one is like the standard ones you'll find at most bead shops. It's just like a big piece of like plushy felt, basically.
And they're cheap and they work great.
Yeah.
I also I have like this old like ring. It's basically a ring display type thing, but the reason I like it is because it's a similar material, but it has sides. And they sell beading trays like that also. And you can also make them. If you look on YouTube, you can just search like bead tray tutorial. Maria Olds, who's a member of the group, posted a tutorial. Let me see if I can pull it up.
I've already wrapped my 3 beads on, so while you're looking for that, I'm gonna just kind of, so I've got my wire at the end, but the beads will still move a bit. So I like to go back through them and just wrap in between each one once. And then I finish off my wrapping right below the loop I have at the top of this ear wire. I love these ear wires also because this little loop I find gives you another spot to have embellishment. So sometimes I'll put a little bead on a ball pin there, a ball head pin, and then it's just like a cute little extra dangle. It shows you, it's really the difference between artisan made and mass produced. It all comes down to the little details. So now that we've got that, I'm going to go ahead and make I'm just going to cut a new piece of wire. I have like a little piece here that I think would work, but not it, like watch it not, and then I have to start a new one. So I'm going to make my, what did I say before? Peruvian Amazonite, and find my round nose pliers. So I'm just going to make like a regular little wrap loop. I'm going to do the part that's going to be connected to the jump ring first, because it's just easier to start with that because nothing is on the wire. If you wanted to switch to a heavier gauge for this part, you totally could. I mostly just use the same gauge just for consistency. But if your bead has really big holes, which this one almost does, and it would come down over the wrapping, like you would want to use a thicker wire. And we'll do the other loop. This loop, I'm going to thread the ear wire on with. my ear wire, thread that on, and then finish my little wrap. See, the ear wire gets a little bit in the way. Imagine having the whole earring on here. That would be the worst. I've done it, but it's the worst. Okay, and just tuck my end. To be tucked. There we go. Okay, and now I'm just going to take my other jump ring that I have not disconnected from the mound of jump rings. Okay, and I'm just going to connect the ear wire. Well, the bead hanging from the ear wire, I should say. And you want to make sure that your loops are facing the right direction. So all the loops you made for the whatever your connector bead is, mine is the Amazonite. You see how both the loops are facing the same way, basically, that this big loop is here. If you put that on backwards, then your earring is going to be backwards. So you want to make sure that you see the beads here on your ear wire, and then you've got this bead with the loop facing this way, and you've got your loop. And the nice thing about jump rings is if it is facing the wrong way, you can just undo it and fix it. I like to kind of go back and forth a few times on my jump ring just so it gets a pretty flush fit.
Oh my goodness, moment of truth.
These remind me of Moana.
I can see that. I like that these ones are even more narrow. It has really nice like symmetry to it.
Oh yeah, these ones ended up a little bit more narrow than my other ones. That's kind of the fun thing about shaping them by hand.
Wow, those are really stunning.
You could get like super different vibes from them. Like these have a little bit more of a tropical vibe, and these have, these could actually have a tropical vibe. I don't know. These ones to me say like more opera house, and these ones more say to me like fancy tropical vacation.
I was thinking very, very similarly.
Thank you for all the compliments, everyone. Amelia said she likes them better than these ones.
Yeah, they're really neat.
So these are great for spring too. Springy colors. I've been in a very like fall colors mood, but I think I need to push myself to be in more of a spring colors mood because fall's not coming back anytime soon. I've refused to admit it, but I'm going to have to start. Summer is coming, unfortunately. But
let's see, how do I like forget how to use this. Here we go. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. Like as always,
thank you everyone for being here.
Bringing your expertise and such creativity to the designs you bring to us each week. So this has been so much fun. We have to do our weekly plug. If you make the project, or if you just get inspired to make anything, post something in Gem Chat, which I'm posting a link to right now. And we love to see what everyone makes.
Yes, I love seeing what everyone makes.
The most fun part of the classes is
even if you're weeks behind.
And also, if you just make throughout the week, Gem Chat's a great place to show what you're up to and get inspired by other people. You can inspire some people. It's a great group. So definitely,
whatever you're making, it doesn't have to be from the class.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to include beads from my shop. It can.
It doesn't even have to be the right design from a class, Shara.
Awesome. Alrighty. I wish everyone an amazing rest of your weekend. I hope to see many of you at New Bead Sunday tomorrow. We've got some adorable new check little flowers and owls, and I gotta go pick out which gems I want to post. So it'll be very fun. Alrighty, we're gonna sign off.
Bye.